Perhaps you had a history class where it was mostly about memorizing some names and dates, and then after the test, they were forgotten. History is rich with amazing stories, and too often we get those stories wrong. One professor came up with a new strategy. He teaches history through a video game. From duels at high noon to saloon fights. Our perception of the Wild West may be shaped more by John Wayne than our high school history teacher. That creates a lot of myth and misunderstanding about what really happened.
Which is that when these statues came up, they were quite...
One history professor hopes to change that. Instead of having students watch 2 hours of True Grit, he offers a different Western that's actually 70 hours long. Red Dead Redemption 2.
This enormously popular video game was shedding light, or at least gesturing towards, some of the very biggest dilemmas in American history, which I did not expect.
Instead of watching the Wild West, students are immersed in it.
It's a wild ride of emotions, to be honest.
And they discover what they've learned about the Wild West isn't quite right.
But I soon became really intrigued in it as a historical recreation.
Some video games, especially the older ones, seem very simple or even silly. But Tori Olson loves them. As a teenager, he's a gamer. You may even recall the Oregon Trail, an early attempt at an educational video game. Red Dead Redemption 2 is different. Released in 2018, it sells 67 million copies, making it one of the most popular video games of all time.
And I came to realize that this could be a way of making history pop.
You saved my life. You're a good man, and
The images are realistic, but the names are fictional, most of them anyway. While playing video games can be fun, the Wild West is deadly serious, and in this world, hero and villain are not easily distinguished in black and white hats. He uses Red Dead Redemption 2 to create a class at the University of Tennessee, and students realize this isn't just playtime.
And of course, they were disappointed because it was a serious history class, but it was just one example of the ways that historians can bring new people into our tent to convince them that the history matters. So if you follow the main storyline, it'll take you about 70 hours or so to complete.
You can see how realistic it is. It's like watching a movie. Even better, you're in the movie. But unlike a movie, you get to make choices living in 1899.
Where we're going right now is to go help the Native Americans get their horses back.
Kristen Labergio is no longer a student, but she's a gamer and a fan of this game.
What do you like, or what interests you about that world?
I think I like all the concept of without technology. It's honestly just a world that you can escape into.
Come here!
The Wild West may not sound like a nice place to escape to, but the game allows you to experience the adventure from the safety of your living room.
It can help shed light on some of the big social and cultural dilemmas of that 1865 to 1920 period.
Two themes emerge after the Civil War: race and economic inequality. These are the lessons Olson conveys to his students, and now others can learn it too through his book, Red Dead's History. As kids, we often played what we called cowboys and Indians. In history, the cowboys and indigenous tribes aren't fighting. Cowboys are watching the cows. And unlike the movies, cowboys are not all white.
That's the kind of John Wayne mid-century vision that we get. It's ridiculous. Real cowboys were poorly paid wage workers for some of the biggest corporations in America.
25% of cowboys are black. Several thousand more are of Mexican heritage. Most cattle operations aren't independent ranchers. They're run by private corporations back east. Same for the mines, the steel mills, the railroads. They're all major corporations.
They were upset about the fact that they were being taken advantage of. So there's actually cowboy labor unions, cowboy strikes. I try to find a John Wayne movie that's about that. That's hard to find.
This is the Indian reservation. And I mean, this is 1899, so it's kind of to the point where Indians are getting pushed out of their reservations.
Right.
My people owe you a great debt, and I'm giving you very little.
Olson says the game's Wapiti tribe resembles the real-life Lakota Sioux tribe. In real life, Native Americans don't battle cowboys so much as they battle the American cavalry, as the U.S. hopes to gain their land for its valuable natural resources.
There's so much violence that plays out in response to, corporate capitalism and its rise.
The saloon fights and pistol duels aren't so random or motivated by petty personal conflicts like in the movies.
Americans today are up in arms about politics and divisions. It's not that different in the 1890s.
I like a lot of open world games, and I probably replayed this at this point 5 or 6 times.
Have you learned more about the Wild West from playing this game?
Yeah.
What did you learn?
I never knew the Pinkertons existed. Like, I didn't know that they were a real detective agency until I started playing this game, and I looked it up. I'm like, huh, this is real.
Chapter 6, The Pinkertons. This private police agency, which serves as the Vanderlyn gang's key antagonist.
Actor Roger Clark voices the main character in Red Dead Redemption 2, as well as the audiobook for Tori Olson's Red Dead's History.
Good day, sir. Agent Milton, Pinkerton Detective Agency.
The Pinkertons are the only real-life historical people featured in this virtual world. Alan Pinkerton is considered America's first private detective and President Lincoln's head of Secret Service.
I am not a man to be messed with by the likes of you!
And this has Leviticus Cornwall. He's the one that actually hired the Pinkertons to go after the Vanderlyn gang.
So he's one of the Pinkertons.
Yeah.
The famous private investigator Alan Pinkerton battles the James Gang and other outlaws, but his name becomes tarnished when his sons William and Robert take over following their father's death.
And they're realizing that to get rich in the 1880s, the big money is not in chasing outlaws, but is serving as hired muscle for big companies who are confronting striking workers.
1893, Homestead, Pennsylvania. Striking workers at Andrew Carnegie's steel mills go to war with Carnegie's corporate muscle, 300 men led by the Pinkerton sons.
And this also really damages their reputation in the United States. It makes them a really toxic household name across the country.
To polish their image, the Pinkertons decide to chase outlaws again, specifically Robert Parker and Harry Longabaugh. Those names may not mean much to you, but you know the story well. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, as depicted in the 1966 movie starring Robert Redford and Paul Newman.
They flee into Bolivia, and they eventually die there at the hands of their American and Bolivian pursuers. So it's a sort of tragic finale to this, another epic Hollywood-esque Western bandit tale.
In our absence, Mrs. Adler here has been looking after things. Now sit down.
This is Agent Milton with the Pinkerton Detective Agency!
Already?
The corporate owners of the Pinkerton Agency aren't too happy with the depiction and sue the video game maker Rockstar in 2018, but the lawsuit is dismissed.
The game is not entirely wrong in portraying the Pinkertons as the hired guns of big business, because that is very much what they were at that time period.
While there is some violence here, there does seem to be a redeeming quality.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Olson writes the West wasn't won, it was robbed, as depicted by these accurate portrayals of union busting, persecuting indigenous people, or the harsh treatment of Chinese railroad workers.
There's no heroes. Everyone's awful. Like, the government is corrupt, the military is pretty rotten, the big businesses are incredibly expansionistic and destructive of opportunity and life in the West.
So I'm heading into the mountains to try and get money. I like getting to experience a different world. You get to escape from reality. I've never cried in a video game, but this was the first video game I cried in. It's something that happens with the main character. And I wasn't expecting to cry, but it just kind of happened.
The historic timelines aren't always accurate. Some violence is exaggerated. But this digital adventure captures a younger generation's attention in the way a high school chalkboard never could. And Tori Olson is their time traveler guide to help them navigate the honest truth of the Wild West.
Tori Olson's book is called Red Dead's History, a video game, an obsession, and America's violent past.